Happy holidays, everyone. Last year I made some animated tree ornaments, such as the star twister. But this year I'm going full-on interactive tree ornaments. This is the holiday project for Project 14. And last year I did some animated tree ornaments that and with the star twister and the flashing lights. But this year I was inspired to do something that's full-on interactive. So an interactive tree ornament. So my wife had found this arcade game, which is just a very lightweight tree ornament, but it's huge, and I was sort of inspired to maybe make one that's an electronic version that actually works. And originally I was going to put it in here, but I decided not to spoil this thing, and I made a completely separate tree ornament, which can actually play an arcade game, and we'll just see how that's done. So the camera really can't capture this display, which is very smooth and detailed graphics, but I don't know how much time this is actually going to spend on the tree, since my son and grandson came over and they couldn't stop playing it. They were just completely mesmerized by the form factor of this game and playing it on a small screen like this. And they were playing it for hours, so it's a good thing that I put in an 850 milliamp battery, because they were playing it for a long time. And I don't know if they would have played the real arcade game that long, but in this form factor it was totally mesmerizing. So it's a big hit, much more so than the flashing lights that I did last year, which are nice to look at. But this is actually a very engrossing tree ornament. And it's got all the right sound effects. So I'll just cover how this was done in this video. Gathered here some components that I'm going to use. So we've got a little OLED display, a LiPo battery, some switches, a piezo buzzer, an Arduino Pro Mini. Actually, this is a Deke Robot clone. It has 5 extra pins, but it's an Arduino. And I made a custom printed circuit board here to house all these components. And through some magic, I've also 3D printed some cases. So this is the main chassis. These are the button caps for those switches. This is the switch bezel. This is the display bezel. This is the battery cover at the bottom. And here is the assembled module with the display on top of the Arduino, on top of the custom printed circuit board. You can see the 3 switches. And underneath there is the battery and the piezo buzzer. And there's also a charging module here, which protects the battery from over voltage through charging. It also protects the battery from over current, so it's limited to about 1 amp. And it protects the battery from under voltage, so it will shut off if the voltage goes much below 3 volts. So this Arduino Pro Micro is supposed to run at 5 volts. This is a nominal 3.7 volt battery, which can be charged up to about 4.2 volts. So I tested this Pro Micro with this display, and it runs fine all the way down to somewhere below 3 volts. So I didn't have to do any extra regulation or voltage boosting. I'm just running it straight off the battery. There is a power switch here which allows me to disconnect the battery completely so that it will survive from 1 year to the next if I'm only bringing this out at the holiday season. So to assemble this, we basically take the switch bezel and put it above the switches so that it's also making sure that the display doesn't bend down and touch the Pro Micro. So it's got a little spacer at the bar at the bottom here. Then we put on the display bezel, which just fits over the top like that. Then we can slide the whole thing into the chassis, upper part of the chassis. Just making sure everything is clear. Okay, and it snaps into the chassis like that. There's an access port for this power button. And then comes the tricky part of dropping the buzzer into this hole underneath the battery. So it's got a, now it's flush in the battery compartment. Then the battery goes into, snaps into the battery compartment, and you just have to make sure these wires aren't in the way of anything when we assemble this. Like that. And we just screw these threaded screws in. Very straightforward. And then we're ready to put on the switch caps. These, it can be played with the buttons without the caps, but these caps distribute the force and make it much more comfortable to play. So this actually plays an interactive video game. Let's turn the power on. Oh, okay, that's saying Space Invaders. Unfortunately, my camera is not syncing very well on this. So I will try and get a close-up image of this thing working, playing around with my camera. But it's doing a demonstration of Space Invaders right now. And I can play it by pushing the fire button to get started. So I can move the, oh, I just got hit. I can move the spaceship left and right, and I can shoot. It's a complete implementation of the game with high scores after you finish the game. So that's game over, and then it gives you a high score screen. So quite a nice little game. However, I need to set it up so that we can actually see the screen a little bit better with the camera. So we've got this speaker on the back, and it's a tree ornament. It can just be hung from a tree. So when it's not being played, it's just running a demonstration game. A neat little project. Since I couldn't get the camera to capture video properly, I did take some screenshots so you can get some idea of what the graphics look like. So this is the splash screen that it starts with. This is a shot from some gameplay. There are some other screens in between. And here are some high scores. You can see my grandson really got a high score here at over 12,000. He had a lot of fun doing it, and that's what the holidays are all about.